You said in your notes here that you're currently celibate by choice while on your healing journey. You're no longer casually dating. How long have you been celibate for?
So the last time I hooked up with someone was in February. Or no, I'm sorry. No, that's wrong. Since June. But that was a kind of like a return thing with
You recycled?
It was like going back to somebody. It wasn't like a new dating experience.
It wasn't a new body. You recycled the body.
Sure, if you want to use that kind of language.
That's what it's called, recycling. If you don't want to add to your body count.
It's not doing it again if you've already done it once with them.
It's like you're recycling a body. Yeah. Okay, all right. No, you don't. You object to that?
Just such a deranged way of looking at like human relationships.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's...
You're talking purely sex.
I feel like it's the least
you're so obsessed with the quantity,
way.
you'd rather just say recycle a body. Like, it's just...
That's the terminology. That's the terms you've never...
Who don't fuck,
you've never
voluntarily,
Wait, what?
Like, that's just like not like people who like normally date and see each other aren't using these terms.
It's very like dehumanizing.
I've never used that term before.
It's not dehumanizing.
It's like you're studying romance from afar, from like an incel community.
Oh yeah, it's all incels.
What?
How
I
dare
didn't say
they?
all.
How dare people use something that's
just
obviously
triggered
false?
by that word?
This is actually a term. Wait. Stop.
They're pay-picking for him right now.
Let me talk, please. This is a term I've actually heard originating from women. Women use this term. Oh, I'm recycling a body so I don't add to my body count.
Because of the pressure of this like obsession to always have a low body count. So I've heard women say too, like I'm recycling bodies so my body count doesn't go
You've
up.
heard it from women too. So why are you saying that it's like this incel community? It's like from men and
I mean, women incels exist.
No, I'm not talking about
true.
women incels, but
I disagree. I don't think a woman can be an incel.
Yeah.
Why is that? Like, genuinely, I'm curious.
Because
men
will do anything with two legs.
Because
not all men. I didn't say all men.
If any woman was so inclined to get laid, she could, regardless of her personality, regardless of her level of physical attractiveness.
So
could a guy?
I guess I would agree
there's
with that.
The
belief system.
Well, for example, there was a Reddit community dedicated to FemCels, women who consider themselves involuntarily celibate, and it like was bombarded with men who were propositioning these women with sex. The reverse is not the case. There's not just women flocking to incel communities to fuck
Here's
these men.
the easiest way to frame it, right? If there was a male version of you, he's not having sex at sex parties and having sex with people back in June. It's not going to happen.
You think at sex
I
the
disagree with
same
that.
sex party.
Why would you disagree
He's
with
going
that?
to go to the same sex party.
I would say, what I would argue though is that a man who's obese is going to struggle far more when it comes to purely getting sex than a woman who's obese.
That's the point, yeah.
Well, you're not really an incel. You can go to Nevada and book a prostitute if you want to.
Well, but
that would still be involuntarily.
How?
Yeah, because in that case,
prostitution doesn't.
He's
count.
talking about.
Okay,
he's talking about sex between two consenting adults, absent money, where you're not paying them for it. That's the point of it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because in that case,
it's like, I mean, you could just go buy a prostitute.
Also, the difference of what we want is different too.
Right?
Like women want the money. I mean, will be okay with having money, and men, like the drive is also very different.
Wait.
Just in general, like.
You mean the sex drive?
Yeah, like for instance, like a man doesn't necessarily, like a man will pay for sex, but a woman won't necessarily have to pay for sex. But there's other things that we might do that will have to like.
That will work for like, intimacy.
Exactly. So
I
it
think
may
that's
not be
the
money.
point. Like when we talk about incels,
else.
like they could book a prostitute, but typically, like you were saying, they're looking for someone who's like enthusiastically consenting to it. So typically, they're not just looking for sex because they could go to a hooker. They're looking for some level of intimacy.
Yeah.
So analogously, femcels, yes, they could be propositioned by those guys on the Reddit, but they're looking for someone who actually cares about them and doesn't just see them as a hoe.
This is also a bad presupposition for a different reason. Another reason this is a bad presupposition is they may not be going to a hooker not because they don't want to or they don't just want sex, but because they may have religious convictions or other values which conflict with doing something like that. So
if they have that strong of a religious conviction, they shouldn't be so hell-bent on being an incel.
I'm almost done. Calm down, Farah, before you start spurg talking and turbo talking. Let me just finish the point.
Everything I'm saying is sound. Just
yeah, that's nice.
Doesn't make it turbo
it'll
talking.
be just as sound when I'm done speaking.
We just got to avoid.
He's just bad at moderating. I'm sorry, I have to moderate myself.
So anyway, just chill out. I'm almost done.
Chill out, Farah.
Yeah, chill out. I'm almost done.
When they say calm down.
Yeah. So I didn't say calm down. You calm down. So anyway, what what I was getting at here was just to say there could be other convictions. There could be other convictions which are here that they adhere to. Now, most popularly, what I see online with people referred to as incels is that their standards are extremely high because they have those religious convictions. They can't find a woman who can meet those standards. Why would they go buy a prostitute if their religious convictions prevent them from doing it?
You're
That's
saying
voluntary.
he can still be an incel because he can't find a woman who matches his values? That's literally voluntary.
That's voluntary.
That's like me saying I'm an incel because I can't find a guy who's 6 foot, makes $1 million a year, and wants to date me. That's ridiculous.
Exactly.
When you're talking about somebody who is incelibate by choice, would you say then, right? Or I'm sorry,
celibate.
Celibate by choice. If you're just talking, anybody who can just go have sex with anybody, right? You can go get a prostitute or this type of thing, okay? Obviously, a person who's going to have sex with another person is going to go for their preferences, right? Isn't that generally what they're going to do?
They don't get to choose if they're paying.
And like we're saying, there's 2 different metrics for male and female preferences, but suddenly you're now using the default as the male preference. So even if he doesn't want to fuck a girl because she has different religious values, why is that different than me saying, even though guys are propositioning me on Reddit, they're not the type of guy I'm looking for, so therefore I can still deem myself a femcel?
Yeah, I'm assuming it both ways. So I assume it on the other way too.
So you believe femcels exist?
I'm not.
You just said that you didn't.
Well,
I have a different definition
so
of it.
you think femcels exist?
If it's from the religious connotation, yeah.
Just religious.
Well, I have a different.
Yeah, I think
not from the idea of yes, I could fuck this guy, but I won't enjoy it. I won't be attracted to him. It'll feel very
I think that all
uncomfortable.
those things could be true, but it would be from a religious standpoint.
No, but you can have that without being religious.
Yeah, generally speaking, a religious standpoint.
I have feelings like that, and I'm not religious.
So if I'm very unattractive and I can only fuck guys who are like disgusting to me, but that's not for religious reasons that I'm unattracted to them, wouldn't I still be a femcel by your definition?
If you were super ugly, you mean? Like just a super, I mean, I guess.
So you think the person's
But
appearance?
I'm talking in generalities here. So I'm just saying generally that's what I would fit in that criteria.
Wait, what's your question?
So you think the appearance is the majority factor of whether or not someone is an incel?
Usually for a man, it's more than their appearance. Usually it's the inside.
I think that there could be there's
usually
two categories here. Yeah,
because there's incels that look just like any one of you guys, and they're feeling like they don't have sex, and the reason why is because we're so turned off by their inside, and the first thing that comes out of their mouth, we couldn't possibly fathom doing anything with them.
Yeah.
I'm not clear. Well, okay. There's first off, my sense of what an incel is it's involuntarily celibate. So this is somebody. I would argue that, and maybe Andrew, this is where I disagree. If say you're a Christian man and you're waiting until marriage, I would consider that to be voluntary.
Yeah, I have a hard
celibacy.
time with that because then, would you apply that to SA? So, well, wait a second.
What?
They're involuntary. Why couldn't they just go SA a chick, right? They could do that, and then they wouldn't be involuntarily
that's a false
celibate.
equivalency.
Why?
Because sex and SA are not comparable.
Okay,
no, but what I'm saying is that if it's not
SA?
just a barrier based around personalization, right, and preferences, then you're looking at the same thing from the religious to if you were looking at it from the argument against the religious is, well, no, this is voluntary because you could just go get a prostitute. It's like, well, no, it's involuntary. They want to do it, right, but they have a barrier from doing it, just like the lack of the SA portion would be the same thing, a barrier from doing it. Right?
I genuinely don't think a lion's share of incels are opting out of booking a hooker for religious reasons. I'm pretty sure a large number of porn consumers are incels. So if they were opting out of sex for religious reasons, they wouldn't be like consuming so much porn.
Yeah, so you don't think that people who are heavily religious would like to have sex, that they might have those wants to do?
That's not what involuntary means.
Yeah, I think, but this is where I'm drawing a distinction with you, because if your argument for no, that's not involuntary, it means if you say involuntary, they could just go get a sex worker. Then why couldn't I just respond by saying, well, if it's involuntary, why couldn't they just go assault a chick, get the same result?
Well, how would it be involuntary?
Because if I call someone homeless, I'm saying they could squat somewhere technically illegally, but I would still consider them homeless.
What does that have to do with what I said?
It's an analogy.
Yeah, but how's the analogy apply?
Because doing something unlawfully doesn't now make it sex.
Well, wait a second. Wait, back up. What is it then?
I'm saying if they're an incel...
It's just unlawful sex, right?
My point is, if they're an incel and they're complaining that they just can't get sex, they can book a hooker, but that's typically not what they're looking for.
Yeah, they could also SA a chick.
They're looking for a level of emotional intimacy. That's my point.
But this is what I'm saying. There's a barrier. They're both what you would consider
One's a barrier legally, the other one's legal.
Yeah, but they're both barriers is the point.
I don't think people are opting out of hookers for religious reasons.
Why? You don't think so?
No.
Why?
Well, maybe some are, but I'm saying an incel who's jacking off to porn every day isn't now drawing the line at prostitution.
I've now created
because
two
of
different
religion.
categories of incel for you. I'm saying that one, I believe that both of them are involuntarily
We're
not
talking about
doing
the actual incel community, the people on Reddit. We're not
I
talking
believe
about your,
that is an actual
person who's
incel
waiting till
community.
marriage to find a
have
godly
you ever heard,
woman.
Have you ever heard of the tradcast who self-ID as incels, for instance? The reason that they self-ID as incels is because they say, yeah, sure, we would love to be rolling around and having tons of sex with women, but we don't, right? Because we have this X belief.
So would he be an incel if he struggles to find a virgin? Like if every single woman at his college has had sex and his standard is he wants to marry another virgin, is he now an incel? No, that's voluntarily celibate because you've set a standard for
That's
yourself.
That's actually kind of interesting. I might be getting on board with what you're saying, Andrew. Because
I'm not expecting it to go that way.
Not either.
Yeah, well, no, I'm trying to suss this out in my head, and I'm thinking about it like, okay, yeah, so there is a law stating that SA is illegal.
Right.
So if I'm looking at coming from a biblical framework as a Christian, I determine that the Bible is my foundation for morality and is law in my mind. So just the same way that SA is illegal it's illegal in the Bible, but it's illegal in our society. It is, to co-opt the verbiage, it is illegal in God's mind, in God's eye, to have sex before marriage.
Right.
So I actually kind of agree.
So you can't actually alleviate what you want, even though you want to, because there's this barrier.
But you're choosing to abide by the barrier.
Yeah, but you would be doing the same thing with SA. That's the point.
Because it's a choice.
It's
you
the
choose
choice.
not to.
Does it just end at religious convictions? Can I say female dating strategy tells me I should only fuck guys who make more than me, and because I earn a lot, it's hard to find those guys, therefore I'm a femcel?
Well, the religious
Talking
conviction
really fast doesn't make your arguments better.
It doesn't. My argument's being correct
Your
makes my
argument
arguments
doesn't.
correct.
What's your argument? I bet you can't even repeat it.
I think I can.
Do it.
I was saying, why are you just drawing the Bible to be akin to law, but why can't I say my preferences could be akin to law too? So suddenly I'm a femcel.
You could, yeah.
Okay, so I'm a femcel because I can't find a guy who makes more money than me in my city.
No, we're saying that you could make two different categories here, right? But you would still have to categorize them. So is it involuntary? I guess what we're really discussing is what do we mean by involuntary? You think that it's voluntary, absent barrier. And so do I, so I don't know what we're arguing.
Okay, so as far as just real quick though, if you have SA, you're going to get a physical repercussion for that.
But let's say you didn't.
You deciding to abide by the Bible, you're not going to get a physical repercussion.
Yeah, but we believe you would.
Yeah, that's the thing.
The point.
Okay, but your belief in actual physical harm happening to you is not the same.
Okay, so what? So
you're not going to go to jail. God is not going to put you in jail.
But you could also let's envision for a second that you knew you could do it and could get away with it and not go to jail. Okay? It would still be a barrier. The absent consent would still be a barrier. And so you wouldn't do it,
The chance
right?
of you actually being able to go to jail versus not are two different very big things.
Yeah, it has nothing to do with the point.
How does it not?
Because what I'm saying is let's remove that for a second, that you would
But you're deciding that the Bible is the top thing.
Yes, and you're deciding that the law is the top thing that prevents the SA.
No, I'm not. I'm just saying as far as overall, you can believe in the Bible, that's fine. But no matter what, Bible or not, you still got to respect the law. So you're encompassing.
You don't have to respect the law.
No, as far as like if you're going to be law abiding or even just of any laws.
So your choice is to respect the law.
But everyone has to be under the law. Not everyone has to be under the Bible.
Yeah, but your choice is to respect both. Mm-hmm. You don't have to respect the law.
You choose to respect the law.
Nothing's stopping you from going through a stop sign. Nothing's stopping you from grabbing that mic and hitting me in the head with it.
But the difference is the repercussions at the end of the day are different.
Yes, there might be that there's that you have a perception. You saying that you have a perception of a repercussion distinction, fine. We can remove that barrier by saying if we could assume that there was no repercussion for you, would you just start saying people?
There is.
Yeah, but that's not the purpose of explaining this way. The purpose is to show you that even if that barrier was removed, you still wouldn't do it. There is a barrier which is there, whether it's religious or it's legal. These two barriers still very much exist inside of your mind, which is the preventative measure for doing the action.
But okay, so if you sexually assault someone, you're then affecting that person's life. If you abstain for sex because of a religious belief, you're not affecting someone else's life.
What if you were to essay? What if you were to essay a chick who was in a coma, and would never know, and it was impossible for her to get pregnant?
There was a man who was raping a lady in.
Yeah.
Sorry,
But you wouldn't co-sign on it. I think we actually agree.
Right, you wouldn't co-sign on it.
No, it was awful.
Right, that's my whole point.
That's a barrier.
No, I think we agree. I think we agree. I was having a rebuttal to Brian saying that like, oh, incels exist only for men but never for women because someone will always fuck you. And I was saying, in theory, you could fuck someone as a man, but it's not to these, you know what I mean? There's that barrier there. So I was saying even for women, even though some guys would proposition us on Reddit, you could still be a femcel.
So here's why I would make the two distinct categories. So I think you would agree with this too. So in the distinct category one with the men, I think it's much easier for men to be in that one category of incel, right? Whereas for women, it's not very, it would actually be difficult to be in that category. Whereas on the religious end, I would say that it could be equal. So
well, okay, what about this?
Exists.
What about this? So let's say you have a man and a woman, neither are religious. They're both physically unattractive.
Yeah.
They want to have, they don't care about, they just want to have sex immediately, like that night or whatever, or within a short period of time, say a week. I would argue that almost any woman, if she was so inclined, could get sex, whereas it's not clear to me if any man could just go out and immediately get
I agree. I totally agree.
I agree, but that's typically not what femcel refers to. Like, I don't think femcels are actually arguing, I can't fuck anybody. They're saying, I can't fuck anybody who would care. Same way those men, in theory, those incels could fuck each other, but they're not going to be attracted to each other and enjoy it.
Hold on. But if the definition of femcel is a female incel.
I actually need you to repeat that.
Why? You didn't hear her?
No, I didn't. She has meth mouth. You got to talk slow so I can understand what you're saying.
The reason I talk so fast is because I keep getting cut off. It's not to try and
I didn't cut you off.
No, I know. I'm just saying in general. But anyways, my point was, yes, a femcel could get sex from anybody.
Okay.
But the point was, men in theory, those incels, they could get sex from each other in theory, but they won't enjoy it.
From each other?
Yes, in theory.
Yeah, he's talking about the opposite sex.
No, I know, but
Wait,
I'm saying
what?
the same way a femcel might not enjoy having sex or even find any like little bit of attraction to the guy who's propositioning her on Reddit, those guys won't enjoy having sex with each other. So that's why I'm saying it's two different metrics.
Ridiculous.
Because male and female sexuality is incredibly different.
Well, so
that's
does
ridiculous.
Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah. So let me. Well, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah. No, I was just about to ask. So, does the act of sex require that there's enjoyment in it?
It doesn't require. I'm saying femcel has a slightly different definition than incel.
I'm not actually sure what that distinction is still.
It's involuntarily celibate, which means no sex, regardless of how you feel about it, if you enjoy it or not. If you're having sex, you're not an incel.
Right.
So
and like I said, you could find sex as an incel.
With other...
No, okay.
I meant prostitution.
Okay, so if your goal is to find sex and you are able to find it, that is by definition not celibate, regardless if you enjoy it or not.
Yes, and like I said, you could find it in Nevada, but obviously we're talking about certain barriers, and guys want it from a woman who's maybe enthusiastically consenting, and a woman maybe wants it from a guy who isn't just looking at her as a whole. So that was my only point.
So I don't understand why each one of those criticisms couldn't be applied back. So you say incels could have it with each other. Well, so could femcels.
Yeah.
So I don't understand how the criticisms wouldn't be equal.
It's not equal. Do you agree that femcels exist, even though they could in theory fuck someone?
And
the same way an incel could in theory fuck someone.
Yeah, I would say by this criteria though, what he's trying to draw is that when he says not exist, right, be the same way that you and I would say something in the commons. Doesn't mean there's none who exist at all on planet Earth, but rather if you make the comparison between the amount of male versus female, it's overwhelmingly going to be male versus female when it comes to this. You would agree with that in that category, right?
I would, but you would also agree that male and females look at sex entirely differently. So when someone says, I'm a femcel, you understand that she's not saying nobody will fuck me. She's saying maybe I'm having difficulty finding someone who will fuck me and actually ask me my name.
So, okay, but if that's the case, then they have just changed the meaning from how we mean it. So it doesn't mean anything.
Yeah, I don't think anyone thinks they have identical definitions.
Yeah, I know. But from our definition, you would agree we're correct.
That men have a harder time procuring sex, yes.
Yeah, and that the incel, from our perspective, our
has a
definition,
way harder time procuring sex.
Okay,
yes.
Then the femcel.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I would agree with that too.
Okay.
But sex to the same basis of attraction, then I would disagree.
Because it's typical progressive pedantry, and you have to like literally peel back all the layers until you get to where you need to
go. No, it's not. It's because we're talking about sex we're talking about sex they wouldn't be disgusted by, and like I said, the guys could in theory fuck each other, but they would feel disgusted by that if they're straight, and the femcel could in theory fuck some random like Redditor proposer, but she might not enjoy it. That was my point, Brian.
What was her?
He left, so I had to direct it at you.
Okay. Well, okay, when I think femcel, like I think female incel,
That's
because
great.
I know there's this definition of femcel where it's like, well, I'm just not finding the right guy that I want to have sex with. And to me, when I think of incel, it's just somebody who wants to have sex, but like can't. There's not all these strings attached to it. There's not all these terms. The guy doesn't have to be some magical unicorn. Like, I'm sure most men who are incels would be happy to have sex with a woman who's even probably below their standards or whatever that might be. So, all right, okay. And I do think when it comes to incels, first off, it's kind of the euphemism treadmill, where a word starts to lose its meaning, like Nazi and fascist.
Oh, yeah.
Where it just ends up being used as a generic insult rather than a word that has actual meaning. I do think incels, a lot of times they get made fun of. I actually think they need empathy, understanding, and compassion, not hate and more isolation. Because you certainly don't make a scared dog more calm by beating him with a stick. And also, to your point, you said that it's not because of their physical attractiveness, but because of their personality. And perhaps there's often
I've seen some incels.
Well, let me just finish my point. Oftentimes there's this idea that these incels are just, certainly there are women-hating incels, misogynistic incels, absolutely. However, it's not clear to me if misogyny is the cause of their lack of sexual connection, because there are plenty of misogynistic men who are highly sexually successful.
I don't think it has to be that, though. It could be simple as, like, I don't like myself.
Oh, I mean, sure, I guess, but
like that also is unattractive.
I mean, I'm sure there's plenty of, like, some of the most toxic women haters there are probably who act like assholes towards every woman or
getting it. Yeah, I'm saying, like, there's probably, like,
inexhaustible
more than just physical that they're
women.
not getting said yes to. Like, it's not going to be just physical, because the way women work, genuinely, we fall in love with the inside, even if the outside is important. I mean, yeah.
Okay.
You can go to, for instance, you can go to school with someone or go to be at work at someone who's definitely not your type, and you keep seeing them over and over again. You see their cute little jokes, and then you kind of start seeing them as being cute and funny because their inside made you be like, actually, like, I'm actually kind of digging that, like, weird nose thing he does, or his ears are a little big, but I actually kind of like that part about him. Okay, so we work differently in that way. Sure. And so I would say that it wouldn't have to necessarily be a man who hates a woman, but it could be like, well, he could always be talking bad about himself, or maybe he's level on the spectrum where he doesn't know how to communicate and, like, talk to people. There's many different things that it could be, but I would say that it probably has to do more with the inside than just the out.